Peter, I'm 22 years old, and for the past 8 years, I've been living on the road and off the grid with my family, documenting our journey on our YouTube, The Epic Family Road Trip. Today, I'm sharing my adventures on my own channel, The Adventure Guys. My dream is to show you the remote places of the world by land, air, and sea, and to one day buy some land and build a homestead. Welcome back to another episode. Today is the day after Christmas. It is the 26th of December, and it's a pretty warm day actually. The last few weeks have been fairly cold, all the way to like -30 or so, and the whole lake froze over. But then we got some warm weather and a whole bunch of snow, which has led to a pretty good layer of ice over the lake, but it's slushy. So there's about 1 inch of solid ice with 2 or 3 inches of this slush and heavy snow on top. And as you can see by all these gray patches around shore, and you can see them way out in the lake, it's that's water saturating the snow that's landing on top of the ice, and that's probably caused by the weight of the snow cracking or making microfractures in the 1 inch of solid ice underneath the snow and pushing water up into it. So this isn't the most ideal situation, since Daniel and I were planning on walking or taking the snow dogs out by the end of this week, which would be tomorrow or the next day. We wanted to walk out and then head south to go pick up my snowmobile, as well as resupply on some essentials like coffee, some food that we're lacking, and just a few other little things at the store. But also just to get off. We were hoping that the lake was at the point that we could start to travel to and from the island freely. But with the arrival of this warmer weather and snow, it doesn't seem like that'll be possible. So thankfully, tomorrow, our good friend Dan, this is Dan from a different island at a different cabin on this lake, not Daniel, my brother, is coming over with his airboat. And Daniel, my brother, and I will head out with him across the lake and then take the Jeep down south with a snowmobile trailer and pick up my snowmobile and the grocery supplies.
It's been snow for a while.
Right? Just some egg cartons. Thanks for coming out. Yeah, I guess there was only really 1 inch to start with, and then all this snow and water has been cracking it up.
Over by the marina, there's 6-7 inches there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's enough there. Too part of the narrows, maybe. I'm going to chuck that later.
Made it out. Dan brought his fan boat and crossed the lake easy. That's the beauty of those machines, is they basically take away any worry of travel on thin ice, no ice. You can travel in shallow lakes and a snowy, slushy lake like what it is currently. So beautiful, awesome machines. One year we'll definitely pick one up and have one, because it's too nice if you can just travel any time of year, either in spring when it's melting off, or right now when the ice isn't sturdy enough to travel on. In any case, we're gonna get the Jeep a little bit more warmed up, load up, and then head out. We've got a 4.5 hour drive ahead of us, and some shopping stops on the way, and then we can pick up the sled. But good friends here at the marina, they've got a little snowmobile trailer, that little trailer back there. So we'll hook up to that right before we leave. They're letting us use it, which is awesome. So I can pull the sled back up north here and then soon enough, maybe another week or two, once the ice is good enough, take it across to the island. I could risk it on the lake. I know some of you might think that. 2-inch paddles on it. It is a 850 switchback assault, so I'm sure it's got enough power, but it's not really worth risking the entire machine just for a week earlier. Pretty cool little trailer. It's just a canvas trailer. It tilts, you just pull a pin on the frame on the tongue up there. It'll tilt down, you load up, and you're on your way. We're about to get her hitched up and then get on our way. All right, well, trailer's good to go. Now we just got about 4.5 hours. Make it down south and load up the sled. We're also gonna be staying at Caroline and Matt's place, which will be cozy. It's the 27th, so a few days after Christmas, but still they should have everything up. Knowing Caroline, the tree will still be up probably until New Year. And I'm sure there'll be tons of Christmas snacks still. So we look forward to getting there and relaxing a bit. Well, it feels good to be off the island. We've been driving out for almost 4 hours. We're a couple minutes out of our cousin's place. Probably gonna drop off the trailer today, just leave it by their trailer where my sled currently is parked, and then go over to Caroline and Matt's for dinner tonight. We've got a property to check out. That takes some time, and then we've got to make it back to the lake before he ends up leaving so he can take us back across that thin ice. So, well, we'll see what we have going on. Could just be here for part of today and leave early tomorrow, or we could spend all day tomorrow here, which would be ideal. We'll see. At least we'll get to see Caroline and Matt at their cozy home tonight. All right, well, good morning. Had a good night's sleep at Caroline and Matt's. I had to quickly run out though, because Dan had taken the blue Jeep over to one of my cousin's places, and then it just wouldn't start randomly. So they took a different vehicle, came and picked me up, and we got it sorted out. It turned out to just have been a fuse that blew for some reason on our starter fuse box. It was like a mini 25 amp fuse. So just bought a bunch of fuses for up north just in case while we're frozen in, and we happened to have the right size of fuse and the exact same amperage and got it started. It actually took a few fuses, it blew a couple of them to start. So we're thinking for some reason that's just overdrawing, and it's a problem we'll figure out later. But for now, the Jeep's running. I'm driving right now to meet Juan and Dan at my snowmobile, and we'll get it loaded up in the trailer and start making our way. hot box.
Whoa.
That's smoky.
Oh. Woo. Should have taken the tarp off. That's some lung damage.
2-stroke inhaling. Well, just
Perfect. Like it's
barely
literally
squeezed it.
No way.
Let it air out a bit for a second and then get it strapped down and ready to travel. But I'm thankful to have a trailer. Right now we don't have one, so thank you to our friend Sarah at the marina for lending this one, and it literally just fits my sled. Well, we got it all strapped down, ski bar across it, so it's ready to travel. We even got it in another foot, so it won't even be sticking out. It's mission successful. Now we just got to make up as much time as we can heading back north to meet with that realtor, hopefully, if that all works out today. Well, good morning, guys. It's still pretty early, but Dan and I have been on the road now for about an hour. We're still about an hour and a half out of our property. It's a little out of the way from where we're initially heading, but it'll be good to go check it out. It's been dark all day. The sun just rose. It's like 7, or it's about 8 now, so it rose about 10-15 minutes ago. But it was the foggiest drive we've ever had. Otherwise I would have filmed, but I don't think my camera would have picked anything up. And we were really just focusing on driving safe, especially with the trailer behind this Jeep. We just wanted to safely drive until the sun rose and the fog kind of cleared, which it has now. So we're gonna keep making our way towards the property and check it out. We're both very excited for this.
We had just pulled onto the backcountry road that leads to the property, and a problem that we thought we had solved showed up again.
Like last time we did this fuse thing, it took 10 fuses. Now we only have 1. We're 10 minutes from the property here.
Just don't shut it off when you get there.
Yeah, we haven't turned it off once yet.
Wow.
Well, on our last fuse, it worked.
Alright, great. Keep going until you get home. Don't shut it off at any
Well,
cost.
let's see how it drives though as well. If it, I think the only reason it did the power steering thing was because it shut off.
Sweet. Well, we're only 10 minutes from the property now, so we'll just leave it on and not spend too long looking around there. Whew, at least it worked.
Well, we're about 5 minutes out now, and it's looking exciting. This looks to be the kind of ideal area that we'd want to get as a property to work on for building cabins and homesteads eventually and all that. It'll probably be at the top of our list after visiting here, and the next few months or a couple of weeks we'll narrow that list down to probably just 1 or 2 properties and then make our decision then. It's exciting. All right, so I've got the drone in the air. We've just been taking a look at the area we think the property's in. Is that we don't know the exact location it's at. We know to look for a certain sign, and then it's to the side of that sign. That's what the information we got from our realtor. So Dan's trying to pull it up right now, but there's almost no service out here. In fact, his phone's on 0 service, so I doubt we're gonna be able to pull up the exact map. So I'm just flying all around this area and taking a look, and it is quite stunning, honestly. There's a bunch of little lakes in there. Like, they're actually pretty decent sized lakes, and a whole lot of good forest and pretty idyllic scenery for a place that you'd want to build your homestead or cabin at. So this place definitely has some great potential for us. We'll probably now, I might walk around a little bit in the forest, though it's just, we've still got a few hours to go before we get back to the island. Feeling anxious now because Dan, our friend, is leaving at 2 p.m. We're just about at the time where we're not gonna make it before Dan is leaving with his fan boat, and then we wouldn't be able to get across to the cabin until either you can walk on it or I can drive my sled, which could be a week or it could be 2 days. So I'll probably take the drone back here. We might step out and just see what the forest is like and breathe some of the air around here, and then start racing back to the cabin before Dan leaves with the Fanboat. All right, well, pretty much from that side of the road over is 100 acres of land that we've been looking at. And from what we could see on the drone, it definitely looks promising. And I've been saying that like crazy, but I'm just super excited to be here and be looking at something like this. It really, being able to come out and see it paints a much better picture in your head of what it might feel like to actually live here. Spending a couple of years out here in these woods that we'll hopefully be able to get. We've still got a lot of questions to ask the realtor. There's some stuff about the water. Is it really swampy? Is it just hilly and stuff? Is there any road access into the place, or can we make a road? The realtor has all the answers to all the questions that we might have. For now, we just got to come out and see the road coming into the area, see the property itself from the air and a little bit from the ground here. And unfortunately, we don't have the time that we had wanted to spend here to go walking around through it, just because of how the Jeep currently is operating. And as I was mentioning before, we gotta make it so that Dan can take us across the lake again. So we're gonna jet. Well, where are we? Well, we were driving back from the property, and we only got like 20 minutes out, and then the last of our fuses blew. And now we're just parked on the side of the highway here. And we had a couple other packs of fuses, tried them, they all blew, so I think that wasn't really the problem. There's obviously something else that's just tripping those the second we try and start it. So we called a tow truck, and they'll be coming to take the Jeep into the nearby town to get fixed for a few days. And luckily we were able to talk with our friends at the marina, Chris and Kendra, and they're driving all the way down here to pick us up, which is really nice. And then we can't get across the ice because Dan has already left to head out on a hunting trip or a fishing trip. So we'll probably end up staying at the marina parking lot for a few days in the truck, which gives us some time to go into town and get some more supplies we needed, and maybe even check out some of the other properties. But yeah, we're just kind of stuck for a few days. Yeah, this is just the way stuff goes sometimes. You can't really plan for this. We had early warning signs with the fuses blowing, but it seemed like something that was, you know, a small little problem and quickly fixed. Little did we know we'd end up kind of stranded on the side of a road, almost home. But oh well. So you're not just taking it like a nice home.
That's exactly what we planned for.
I said to your mother, I'm like, wow, they didn't call it Adventure Guys for nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, at least we've been rescued.
I can't wait for the freeze up. Just get a couple of cold days, and then it'll be 4 inches of ice on there.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, you don't know where.
Looking in unorganized townships?
Yeah, Yep, like just undeveloped properties that we can get a trail into and start building cabins on.
With it being an unorganized township, you're not locked into building permits and codes and.
Get the heater on and make sure all the batteries are charged.
Yeah, you should actually start the truck now. Get it warm. Well, we made it back. We got the truck, which is a welcome sight after sitting on the side of the road just waiting to see what would happen next once the Jeep died. But super thankful for our friends Chris and Kendra. I mean, first of all, with the trailer to be able to take my sled up, that was super nice in itself, but then having the Jeep just kind of give up on us and then have them come rescue us was a awesome, super helpful thing that they did. So Dan just fired up the truck. We're gonna get the batteries going. We had it all shut down for winter, so we're gonna get it charged up and ready to stand for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, who knows. Whenever it gets cold again and cold enough to potentially either walk or pull the sled out of the trailer there and just ride across to the cabin. So, oh well, this isn't the worst place to be ever. I'd say the Rossmonster is, in fact, it's the best traveling vehicle I've ever been in my whole life, and it's a second home to me and Dan for sure. We spent a little bit of time with Mom and Dad in here when we were traveling down south when we first picked this machine up, and I'm always envious of them because it's just the best thing ever. So for Dan and I, it's gonna be luxurious, roomy, and warm. Well, good morning. Dan and I had a bit of a rough sleep last night. I crawled into the bed, but without the roof popped, which was more comfortable than sitting in the seats. But to be honest, these seats are a lot more comfortable than certain things we've slept in before. So not too bad all around. But today it changed from rain to some fairly heavy snow, and we're driving the truck into a town that's nearby to pick up some supplies so that we can stay here for up to a week while the ice freezes on the lake. But all I can really think about is how crazy this whole situation is. Like, it went from the normal drive up and a fan boat across to the cabin after a successful trip, you know, getting my snowmobile, visiting family, and seeing our potential new property, to a bit of a nightmare with the Jeep breaking down. Now it's in a different town down south, and getting looked at a dealer, and then us having to be rescued by our friends. And then, of all things, last night when we were trying to get the truck running, the batteries wouldn't fully start up. Normally they start up off of the alternator. Once the truck's been running for like 20 minutes, they almost fully charge up. And then we have, you know, Starlink, we've got heaters in the back, we've got cooktops to have, and lights, and a comfy room when the rooftop is popped up. But last night, none of that would get going. Even with a little generator, we had a 2000 from our friends. Again, they supplied us with that. It would start up, but I don't think the 2000 generator could, like, it was a little Honda 2000. I don't think it could withstand the load for like the first 10 seconds of the startup of all the batteries in the back, because it would beep, all the screens would turn on, and you'd hear the Jenny rev, and then it would shut off. Like the rev would drop down and the power would shut off. So one of the main objectives of heading into town, besides grabbing some supplies, is to hopefully find a shore power plug-in, kind of like what people use, or what hotels and restaurants will sometimes have for people to plug in their cars for an engine block, or an engine block heater or something from like a light post. If that's connected to just the grid itself, it should have enough power to charge up our batteries. So we're looking at Saturday, which is 6 days off from now, of progressively getting colder and colder each night, and hopefully freezing the lake up enough. All right, well, we're pulling into one of the outdoor stores here in town, which we frequent because we are always buying something. This is actually where we got our flotation suits from these guys, and our sleds for our snow dogs, and a bunch of other stuff. So we're here quite often, but our hope is that they will have a shore power plug-in that we can maybe use for a bit, which I actually see one on the wall here, so I'm gonna park here. If it's just the batteries are so dead, like since we left them off for about a month without ever touching them, and it's definitely recommended that even if you're putting it into storage or something in a warm place, you plug your truck into shore power so it at least keeps the batteries charged up to a certain level. These ones sat in the cold for about a month with no charge. There's no real draw, but there was probably a few little things drawing power from them to the point that they got to absolute zero, and they were
pretty cold, you know, in freezing weather. So we didn't do what was recommended, and now we're kind of paying the price for that. So hopefully plugging into shore power of a place that's on the grid will give it the boost it needs to get up to a certain level of battery, where either the alternator, the generator at our friends, or plugging into the shore power of their house will charge it, and then we can just rest easy. Because right now I still feel tired just thinking about if it doesn't work out. Because then that means one more restless night around here, and then a big long drive back down to the family, because we've got a week of sitting around, and I don't think we can do it too well if we can't refrigerate stuff, can't cook, and can't really sleep in the truck. So it's not the truck's fault, it's ours, but we'll see if this fixes our problems. Coast didn't work out. I went in and asked, and they didn't have any shore plugins that would be good for the truck. So Dan and I are making our way back to the marina, where we'll plug into the house power, which should just give us, we really only probably need that for 10 or 30 minutes just to get the batteries up a bit in juice, and then we can keep going. Something that's never happened before in the truck, but like I said, we didn't do the recommended thing when storing a Rossmonster, so who knows. I have hope that it'll work out well, and then we'll have a good night tonight. Alright, so I got in touch with Victron Energy, or Rossmonster in particular, and they have a technician who started just diagnosing our problems based off of what I've seen and heard in here. And when we had shore power connected, I was hopeful it was going to work, and it kind of did the same thing it did with the generator. It'd turn on for half a second, you'd hear it all beep on, and then it'd shut off. But I'd also hear like a switch noise, which to me sounded like a breaker, but he said what that probably is actually the inverter trying to swap into a charge mode and just kicking back off. And what that in our case seems to be caused by is that the battery cells were depleted to 0% and were cold, which is from leaving it for a month or more. So right now I disconnected all output from the batteries or input to them except for this battery charger, which again our good friends Chris and Kendra kindly gave us. We're going to try to get the voltage back up to proper levels on the batteries and charge them up to a certain level, where the whole Victron Energy system that we have in the Rossmonster here thinks it's safe for it to start outputting or discharging battery to everything here in the car. So hopefully this works. Alright, well, after a long 2 days of trying to figure out all the problems, it was much simpler than we thought. I probably should have just reached out to Rossmonster to start with. They had a super helpful guy, just give the right information, and took 2 hours to get all the batteries back to the same charge. There's 3 batteries in this truck. Once they were all charged up to the same voltage, then I could charge it with the shore power and with the alternator from the truck with it on, and it charged up to 100% in no time. And as you can see, I've already popped up the roof, and I can now get all the lights on. Now we have lights. I'm going to turn on the Webasto heater once we get it cleaned up in here, and we'll just stay connected to shore power all night. I've even got Starlink booting up so we can finally talk to Mom and Dad and tell them the good news. So sweet, we're not going to be sleeping in chairs tonight, even though a big Ford truck is quite comfortable. An actual bed in the back of a Rossmonster cab is going to be luxury. So I am very, very excited and very happy about this. And we can also cook. We're not just going to be eating crackers for dinner tonight again. Well, we're back to 100% with full control of everything. I even got the stove here set up, and Dan's already getting cozy, but still have this beeping, and that's the fire alarm. I think the fire alarm has low batteries. Once the Starlink kicks in, then I'll be able to look up how to disable that beeping. Maybe swap the batteries if they're batteries I can swap, and at the very least just turn it off. But yeah, this is awesome. I realize now that without a hat I look like I just woke up, and it still feels like I did since we barely fell asleep at all. Now we've got that full bed, and even this dinette down here turns down into a bed. So I'm going to let the heat kick on. I'll start up the Webasto, and We'll just make it comfortable and wait. It takes about 15 minutes for the Starlink to reboot and clear the snow and all that. And then we should have Wi-Fi and be good to go for the night. Well, it seems like we got our Wi-Fi back online, so I'm gonna just call Dad and let him know everything's good now. We're all back in business. Hey, Dad. Calling from Truck Starlink now.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Still have the first thing I'm going to use it for after this call is how to figure out turning off a fire alarm that's low battery, but
Oh, is it still going?
yeah. Other than that, I've got the heat on, everything's working good, and the batteries are at 100% again.
Awesome.
It's very nice. All right.
Best friends.
Yep, best friend.
Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Just getting dinner ready now. Hamburger helper. Simple and yummy. This induction stove is really nice to have, but it does chew through battery, and because of everything we just went through with the batteries, I'm a little anxious with it dropping, but still at 96%, and by the time this is done, it should be at it should still be in the 90s, which is good enough. Meal turned out good. It's all cooked up and we're ready to eat. Pretty nice tonight.
Oh, it's already heating up in here with a nice Webasto heater. So good and cozy for the night.
Thank you for watching this week's video. Make sure to check out the Epic Family Road Trip and Dan's channel to follow the adventure from their point of view. Coming up, Dan and I spend the next week living in the Rossmonster as the lake ice thickens to the point where we can make our first attempt at crossing the lake.
Anyway, here goes nothing. Hopefully it goes smoothly. And I'll be back here to pick Dan up in a bit, and we can finally get back to the island.